What is going on, guys? Today in this video, I'm bringing back another fucking banger. Responding to one of the guys that responded to my post on YouTube. So he asked me to make a video on the best diet to get to 10 to 12% body fat, or I think he said 12 to 15, something like that. But I think the best way to get to 12% body fat has to be the diet. Like, you can train and you can burn calories, but if you don't have the diet in place, if you don't know what foods to eat, how to eat them, how to feel satiated, all these different things that goes into how you eat and like eating just your diet in general, then you're just going to be stuck where you are. Like, genuinely, diet I think is 75 to 80% of fitness, because like training is easy. Like, you can go to the gym. Like, most people know how to go to the gym. Most people know how to train to stimulate growth. There's some subtopics in training that, I've covered before and I can cover again, but truly the biggest thing you can do is your diet. So I want to dive into this and show you guys exactly what I do and what you should do, what I teach my clients to get the best, fastest results to 12% body fat. So let's dive into the slide deck presentation. Number one, what we're covering is what are foods actually for? So a lot of people just think of food as, food is food, like, obviously, but most people treat food as like pleasure and just, comfort food, eating whenever they want to eat, which I'm not saying is like the worst thing in the world, but if you truly want good results in your fitness and in the gym, you want to optimize your food to look at it as just nutrition for your body. All you're doing is supplying nutrients, vitamins, minerals, macronutrients, the micronutrients, like you can see here, to supply them for your bodily functions and like what they need to operate and like grow muscle, lose body fats. Because everything works in a conjunction, in a system in your body. If you have deficiencies in any micronutrient, it's going to affect every single part of your body. It's not like a thing that just is deficient and then it's just going to affect one thing. It all spirals and leaks. It's like a whole web of different things that you can affect just by, supplying the different nutrients that you need in your body. So what you want to optimize your diet for is, number one, nutrients goes into micros. Micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals, your macronutrients as well. Number two is calories. So obviously, if you want to get to 12% body fat, you want to be in a calorie deficit. I'm assuming obviously you're higher than 12% right now, and you want to get down, get leaner, so you can start bulking and start from a good spot. You don't want to carry fat on your body. You want to look better with your shirt off, be more confident. All these different things that are very worth it once you get down to a good body fat percentage. I think sub 12 is where most people should be, and then aim for like 8 to 10 to start actually doing your lean bulk, because that's when your body's just the most efficient at building muscle, having the most testosterone, everything like that is the best in that range. So sub 12 is really where every guy should be at. If you're not at sub 12, then your main goal should be to cut down, because it's just going to improve the quality of your life so much. But going on with this, calories, of course, and then satiety as well. So satiety, you don't want to make it hard on yourself. You don't want to be hungry all the time. And you can affect that with different things that you can add into your diet, different foods that you can eat, and then different supplements and timing of your eating. You can time different macros differently in different ways. So we'll get into that later on in this video. So number two, the best foods. This is basically like my meal plan that I use for myself. And then for my clients as well, I provide like very custom meal plans just depending on taste and preferences. But this is basically what you should be eating. This is just very simple. So you have your three macronutrients, your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. And then you can make meals out of all of these different foods. So number one, red meat. This is by far the most nutritious food that you should be eating on a daily basis. I probably have ground beef or some sort of steak, maybe like 6 days a week. I wouldn't say it's like 7 days a week, because sometimes I'll have more Greek yogurt, have more eggs, have more, fish, something like that. You can mix and match these, but red meat should be at the staple of your diet. Eggs are very nutritious as well. And then just going on the list, just get all these. These are the most nutritious foods, because we are optimizing, like I said, for nutrients, calories, and satiety. And then you can get different types of fatty meats, get different types of fatty yogurts. Whey protein's pretty lean. Like you can just mix and match these to make different meals, and it's going to be the best for you. So carbs, your white rice, it's going to be your go-to fast digesting carb. So very good for post-workout. And then if you're going to train if you're going to train like right after you eat, you want some fast digesting carbs, which is good for white rice. Sweet potato is really good for satiety. So we'll get into the satiety section in a little bit. So it's like a slow digesting carb. So you can eat this a few hours before you train, and it's going to keep you really full for very long. So it's a really good cutting hack to get to 12% body fat. And then fruit and honey. So you want to do this sparingly. I don't recommend doing all your carbs from fruit and honey because it's like around 50% glucose and then 50% fructose. But then muscles only really store glucose only. So fructose is only going to go to the liver, and then it's going to be converted into fat through GLUT5. And then GLUT4, like glucose transporter 4, is going to actually store glucose, which is these two, and then 50% of these into muscle glycogen and into like the bloodstream as well, into muscle cells. So focus mostly on these, and then you can add these in the day. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat these. I eat fruit and honey every single day, but it should not be your main only carb source, which is what the point I want to get across. And then your fats, you want to have some monounsaturated fats, some saturated fats, and some polyunsaturated fats. Those are the fat types you want to focus on. So avocado and olive oil, very good for monounsaturated. Your red meat is going to be really good for your saturated fats. Eggs are a good balance of pretty much all three. Your butter is good for saturated. And then peanut butter, this is just for like calories. If you're doing a lean bulk, you can definitely add this into like a yogurt bowl that you can do. So you can really mix and match these just depending on your specific goal. And it truly is very specific to the individual because, I'm about to get into like how to eat the meal plan, but it is very specific into how you train your specific schedule, when you should be eating your foods, which I'll get into. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But number 3, how to eat. So you want to time your meals based on your training. So most people, like you were grown up eating is like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like eat breakfast in the morning when you wake up, before you go to work, before you go to school. And you're going to have your lunch at noon, at 11 a.m., whenever you eat your lunch. And then you're going to have your dinner around, 5, 6, 7 p.m., whenever you eat dinner, right? And then snacks in between. It's very common, you see that all the time, but it's not the best to gain muscle, to lose fat. It's not really going to be beneficial for you. That's just going to make you eat way more calories than you need to. You're going to be way more hungry throughout the day if you eat that way, like that certain structure. The correct way to do this is just to time your meals based around your training. So you should just look at when you're going to go to the gym, and then you can time a pre-workout meal, a post-workout meal, and then some other meals are like outside of that window just to hit your calories, hit your nutrients that you need to hit for the day. So a little example of how to do this and some basic rules that you should follow is number 1, protein and carbs should only be pre and post-workout. Or I should say it again. Carbs only pre and post-workout, and you want to pair it with protein. You do want to hit protein in every single meal. You can change the carbs and the fats. So your carbs, as you can see in this little graph right here, it's a little bit hard for me to read. It's a little small, but as you can see, what does that say? 8 a.m., so proteins and fats, 12 p.m. proteins and fats, and then 3:30 to 4 pre-workout. So if this is going to be if you train around 5 to 5:30, like around when you get off work, if you're working like a 9 to 5, which I'll get into like the specifics as well in the next slide. And then you're going to do, protein and carbs, like pre and post workout basically. And then you want to time your fats away from the workout window. So why this is, carbs are going to spike your insulin, and you want that high around your training. So you want to spike insulin before you work out. Spike insulin, it's going to prevent muscle breakdowns. Like when you're actually lifting, you're not going to use your own muscle and your own amino acids as the fuel. You have blood glucose to actually fuel the workout. And then post-workout, it's way more important to get your glucose, your carbs in to spike insulin again. And it's going to shuttle all those nutrients that you're eating in that post-workout meal directly to muscle cells instead of fat storage. You're basically biasing more calories that you're eating towards muscle growth instead of fat storage, which is another different topic called nutrient partitioning. I've talked a lot about it on this channel. different videos that I've made. And then proteins and fats away from workouts. This is because fats are going to slow down your digestion. So you do not want this before you work out or after. You want to replenish your glycogen, shuttle all those nutrients to muscles as quickly as you can. So that's why fats are not ideal pre and post workout. You want to keep this away from the workouts. It's going to slow everything down when you want it to be fast in this window, like right here. Like if you go lift here, you want it to be very fast here, and then you can just time it based. That's why it is very individual, just based on when you go train, what your specific schedule is. Like if you're going to do another workout in the day, it just depends on what you actually have in your day and like what your goal is. And also, last thing here is highest carb meal has to be your post-workout meal, because like I said, when you are most sensitive to carbs and glucose coming in is when the glucose transporter 4 translocates to the cell membrane. That's right after you go lift, based on muscle contraction and insulin. That's when you have the most amount of carbs in the day to take advantage of that muscle demand. You're going to shuttle all those nutrients, all the glucose to the muscle cells so that they can recover very fast and just get the most out of what you're already eating. Like you can eat the same meals, but have really different timing, and you're not going to get the same result. It's just like you want to optimize for the timing based on when you go train. So this is a meal plan example. This is what I was talking about earlier. So example, you go to the gym at 5:30 p.m. I think this is the most common thing. A lot of people work 9 to 5 jobs. So you can definitely do this, based on what your schedule is. So I'd recommend an 8-hour eating window just based on intermittent fasting. Very good for insulin sensitivity, which basically makes you more sensitive to nutrients coming in. It's going to make you, partition more nutrients to muscle cells. So what you can do is, for example, 11 to 12, so like around 11 to noon, you want to have some proteins and fats, and you want to wait till 4:30 to 5 p.m., have your proteins and carbs in your pre-workout meal, go hit the gym, and then come back, have your biggest carb meal of the day with some more protein. It's going to be 3 meals in the day. And then if you do want, like, I know this example here showed 4 meals. It just depends on the individual as well. Like, there's a lot of different factors that goes into if that would be better for you or not. Like, that's what I do basically for my clients, because it's very specific, very tailored to their needs. So like you can see here, carbs are used for muscle demand only, so pre and post workout, and then fats away from the workout window, just like I mentioned before. And then specific plans, so actually specific foods that you can eat based on what I just showed you. So this is based on if you're wanting to eat 2,100 to 2,200 calories in a day. So I do recommend, if you're cutting down, pick a calorie range. I wouldn't recommend like a specific number. Like you can obviously, but I just find it way easier to hit a range, because it's just like you can be a little bit more lenient with it, and you're still going to make the same progress based on how much of a deficit you need to be. So 11 to 12 be your first meal, like the high protein and fats. 4 whole eggs, 1 tablespoon of butter, and then half an avocado. There's barely any carbs in this. The avocado has a little bit, maybe like 3 grams of carbs, which is basically nothing. And you're going to get some high quality protein and some high quality fats. And then pre-workout, you're going to have a non-fat Greek yogurt. So staying low fats in the workout window, pre and post workout. 1 scoop of whey protein. Then you can do 1 cup of frozen fruit and 1 tablespoon of honey. So I'd really like doing this with your yogurt. It tastes amazing. And it's going to give you some fructose and some glucose as well. And then for strict glucose, you can do just half a cup of white rice before you go train. You don't need too many carbs pre-workout. You want to really save them for post-workout when you're most sensitive to them. And then post-workout, you could do 1 pound of ground beef, 1.5 cups of white rice, and then another cup of frozen fruit. So you're getting the most carbs in this. Pretty much all glucose from the white rice. I really recommend just focusing on the glucose here. And 1 pound of ground beef. You do want it to be pretty lean, so I really like the 96.4. You could do 93.7. And I wouldn't go really any higher than this, because it's just going to be way more fat in that post-workout meal. Or if you space it out correctly, then you can do it. You can get away with it if you split it up into two different, meals of doing ground beef. Just depends again on the individual and the specific outcome and the timing, and just so many things. That's a lot of factors for different individuals. But this is a basic plan that you can follow if you want to do this. 21 to 2200 calories, and this is when you go train at the gym. Next up is supplements. So this is a key part of the diet that's gonna help you tremendously on, keeping muscle, losing fats, and just your overall health and fitness for your lifting journey. So creatine monohydrate, number one, you want to take this post workout with some salts. So I literally like just learned about this maybe 2 days ago. So there's a transporter in your body that allows creatine to enter the muscle and the brain, because creatine, if you don't know, affects the brain, the muscles, pretty much a lot of different tissues in the body. It's not just your muscles, but for the scope of this video, we're just talking about the muscles. But there's a transporter that requires sodium and chloride to enter the muscles and the brain cells. So basically that's just salt. And then you also want to have this post-workout, because when you have muscle contraction and insulin, you're going to get more absorption from creatine. So best way you do this, just have this with your post-workout meal and have some salt in your water with your creatine. Next up is vitamin D3 plus K2. This is the exact one that I use. Even has some coconut oil, because vitamin D3 is fat soluble. So you want to take this with a high fat meal. And you want to take this in the morning to midday. You don't want to take this at night, because it does have an effect where it kind of wakes you up. Because if you think about it, vitamin D is from sunlight. Like that's how we make it in our own body naturally. So if we're taking this at night, it's basically going to have a little like wake up effect, and it's not going to be good for your sleep. So you want to take this morning, midday with some fats. Next up is magnesium glycinate. So take this at nighttime. I'd say like an hour before bed is good. Zinc picolinate. This is the best form of zinc that you can take. Good for testosterone production. Take this midday to nighttime. And then I like to take some kelp. So this is good for iodine, some thyroid function. I'm personally hypothyroid, so I used to take T3, like hormone, the thyroid T4, and that converts into T3. I took that for like 7 years, since I was 12, and I stopped at 19. Stopped taking that medication, but I've felt good ever since, just because I keep, supplementing this and just keep my health in check. But if I did not have that, I don't know if I would like even feel like healthy or good or have the same results that I have now. So this is really important to keep your thyroid in place. Take this in the morning. It's just good to have in the morning and just get the iodine in there. And then fish oil for your omega-3s. Want to have this post-workout with your post-workout meal, just basically best for absorption there. And how to feel satiated. So quick things you can do to actually feel more full in the day. We don't want to make this hard for ourselves. We want to make, cutting and getting lean as easy as possible, it is very easy once you follow these things. Like if you have everything in place in this video, and if you go back and even watch some of my other videos on getting like to 10% body fat, all the cutting videos that I have, this should be like very, very easy. You should not really feel bad at all. You should feel like good energy and have everything in place. So number one is intermittent fasting. This is really good for appetite control and really good for long-term health in general. So there's a lot of health benefits you can get into with fasting. But for this video, just want to talk about the appetite control of this. So I've personally tried this out. I usually do like at least 8 hours of like an eating window. So have like an 8-hour eating window and then 16 hours of fasting. That's like the general rule of thumb for most people, which I think is really good. It's really effective. And it keeps you basically like not hungry all day. Because if you're eating right when you wake up and then until you go to bed, you're basically just relying on having fuel or like carbs for your fuel and like your everyday movements as fuel source. But if you can be like metabolically flexible, which is kind of what intermittent fasting does. I've been talking for so long. When I record these videos and it's a little bit into the video, I just trip over my words. But if you're doing intermittent fasting, you're going to be more metabolically flexible, which is going to help you with your appetite control. Next up is proteins and fats earlier in the day. So this is if you need it, if it goes into your schedule, like we talked about with timing your nutrients around your workouts. This is good for slowing down your digestion, and it's going to make you feel fuller for longer. So if you can have this, earlier in the day, then it is going to help you with that. Carbs pre and post workout. So if you do know, if you have carbs on their own and you're not going to go lift, or if it's not right after a workout, then I find it personally that it just makes you super hungry and you just want to eat way more food than you really need because it just like opens up this like hunger loop that you didn't even have before. It's like really, I don't know how it works genuinely, but like if you have just carbs, like maybe you have like something like maybe chips or something. I don't even eat chips, but just as an example, you have that on their own and you have nothing else. You're just going to feel way more hungry. You just kind of open that hunger for yourself, which you don't want to do. So just keep your carbs pre and post workout when they're actually needed by your muscles. Then caffeine in the morning. So caffeine really blunts hunger and is going to make you just way more awake and alert in the day. There's so many different benefits to caffeine as well. I recommend drinking caffeine every single morning. And you can add vinegar, so like apple cider vinegar. I don't do this all the time. Like I've experimented with this. It definitely does work. It slows down your digestion, like your gastric emptying, as they call it. It's basically just slowing down digestion, keeps you fuller for longer. But you don't want to do this in the training windows, like pre and post workout. Stay away from this because, like I said, you don't want to slow down your digestion pre and post workout. That's when you want to have the insulin spikes and shuttling all the nutrients to muscles as fast as you can. So if you have any sort of meals throughout the day, you can add this. Try it out for yourself, experiment with this, and just see if it works for you, how you like that. It does taste pretty bad if you do like apple cider vinegar. It tastes really weird, I'm not gonna lie, but you do get used to it if you do it pretty consistently. Like the first time I did it, I thought it tastes like absolute shit. But if I do it now, like it's I know what to expect, so it's pretty normal. And then hunger versus dopamine. So this is a big one that most people really struggle with is knowing when you're actually hungry versus when you're just looking for a dopamine hit from food. So if you can learn how to differentiate these and like truly separate yourself from the pleasure eating, from the comfort foods, and just sticking to what you need to do, like following the plan that you have, that's the best way that you're going to get results long term because it is easy to fall into like the dopamine trap. Like you start eating and you don't want to stop eating because it like you get the pleasure. I mean, I feel this as well. Like I'm not saying I'm immune to this, but if you can learn to control it, I think some good tips here are slowing down your eating a little bit, and then once you're done with your meal, like get out of the kitchen, like just like walk away, like don't put yourself near more food because it's very easy to eat more food if it's just around you. If it's easy to access, then you're just gonna make it way easier for yourself to do the bad thing. So make it hard for yourself to do the bad thing, which is to eat more food, eat out of comfort, eat out of dopamine pleasure in chasing that instead of following the plan that you have. So if you have any questions, guys, shoot me a message on Instagram. If you want to work with me directly one-on-one, I do take on clients. There's going to be a link in the description to book a call with me. So other than that, I will see you guys in the next one.